Hello everybody, my name is Tom. I was born in Luxembourg and have lived in the LA area about 11 years now, since the year 2000. And this is about introducing my book that I wrote recently. Which is called Essay on a Politically Motivated, Irrational, Multidimensional Hyperstructuralism. Now this sounds rather much scarily intellectual. Essay on a Politically Motivated, Irrational, Multidimensional Hyperstructuralism. Essay on a Politically Motivated, Irrational, Multidimensional Hyperstructuralism. Essay on a Politically Motivated, Irrational, Multidimensional Hyperstructuralism. Now this sounds rather much scarily intellectual. It is, however, not as difficult to understand if you let me introduce to you in short words.
Kommt mit uns, wir laden euch ein, wir hören ihr und keiner der schreit.
The basic problem is there any objective truth? Is there any absolute value, or is there everything relative so that we cannot anymore speak clearly about it? Now there are conservatives who believe in absolute values in good and evil, there are liberals who speak in the terminology of relativism, that means what is good for one person might be evil for another person, and there is a third option. And I actually wrote an email to Bill O'Reilly where I said, Bill, what frustrates me about the issue is that nobody comes to the idea of a third option, which is structuralism, so that the context makes the relativity objective. That means the fact that what is good for one person and is bad for another is not a justification for distorting it, so that the context makes the relativity objective. So, if what is good for one person is bad for another person, if that's the truth, then it means that the balance is absolute. If the water is cold in the bathtub, you have to put hot inside to become lukewarm. If the water is first hot, then you have to put cold water inside to become lukewarm, and so on and so on. That means you have to emphasize the other extreme. And another example would be about drinking. If it's outside hot in the summer, you drink a cold lemonade and to eat a cold ice cream, and in the winter when it's cold outside, to drink a hot coffee or chocolate. So you have, in order to be balanced, to emphasize the other extreme. So if everybody in a society behaved well and balanced and lukewarm, then there would never be violence. But because there are people who sometimes, or groups of people who behave aggressively, violently, sometimes selectively military or individual violence has to be used to stop the other violence, to stop it, that means to neutralize it, to use violence against violence. So in that email to Bill O'Reilly, I wrote, if Bush thinks that it has to use violence against violence in order to be fair and balanced, why does he have such a naive vocabulary of good and evil and not using the terminology of fair and balanced? To go further than this, this book has been constructed in such a way that the first chapter explains what the fundamental idea, the fundamental value and derived truth of multidimensional hyperstructure is, and then the other 11 chapters following, they care about the analysis of history throughout the old antiquity, 2000 before Christ, at Egypt and Mesopotamia, which is today Iraq, until end of 20th century, the time of globalization, and in the end I project actually to the future my idea of what should, what might, and probably will happen during the next 20-25 years. Like many people on the was 20 years ago, he introduced freedom of speech from the economy, and there was a Russian joke at that time saying, if I go, we were not allowed to open our mouth. Suffocating from poisoning through CO2, excessive production of CO2, concerning the fact that from 1/3 of the 1.3 million Chinese are 400 million of people living in towns, that makes 1/3 of the population.